Welcome to the next episode of I'm on a CIA watch list with Cameron Langley. The topics in the last episode were about climate change in 2020 and how that's rapidly getting worse and how we need to do a Green New Deal. Today's episode is actually going to be about the largest strike in history that just happened, the Indian protests against their neoliberal government. So we'll be getting into that in a second, but first I want to ask you to like, subscribe, give me feedback, and share this video, please, on any of your social media. Tell your friends about it. I need to get viewers. I need to get subscribers. I need to get myself up there. That way I can improve this show, too, and possibly get better equipment with better quality at some point. So let's get into this. The largest strike in American history, human history, just happened. So I have a whole bunch of articles that are linked to this here. I'm just going to read from them. Most of this is, I'm just going to quote directly from the articles, but so this one is from workersliberty.org. General strike in India. On the 26th of November, tens of millions of workers took part in a general strike against India's far-right government. Indian unions gave a figure of 250 million. Alongside its fascistic, Hindu chauvinist and anti-migrant policies, which has intensified during the pandemic, Narendra Modi's regime has consistently pursued an aggressively neoliberal, anti-working class economic and social agenda. The strike, also backed by a mass farmers' mobilization, demanded the withdrawal of Modi's anti-worker changes to labor law, expansion of social provision, the restoration of subsidies and price guarantees for farmers, and the halting of privatization, including of publicly owned banks. The regime responded to the strike with heavy repression, but did not manage to prevent huge participation. So you heard in there that it's 250 million people that were striking, and I'm going to give you a figure here in a second that'll put that into context. But first I want to read why are they striking. This is from, what's that abbreviation for? The World Socialist website, WSWS.org. This one is why are they striking? This is from the day of the strike, this article is. Tens of millions of workers across India will join a one-day general strike today to protest the pro-investor policies of the Narendra Modi-led, I'm not going to try to pronounce this, but BJP government. Austerity, privatization, the promotion of fire-at-will contract labor jobs, and the gutting of health and safety and all other regulatory restraints on capitalist exploitation. The strike is also being fueled by mass anger over the government's ruinous handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. Like governments around the world, Modi and his BJP have prioritized corporate profit and safeguarding the fortunes of India's billionaires and multimillionaires over protecting workers' lives and livelihoods. All of the country's major trade union federations, with the exception of the BJP-aligned, again, I'm not going to try to pronounce this, but it's in the article, have endorsed today's national protest strike, as have many unaffiliated unions. They are calling on the far-right Hindu supremacist BJP government to halt its privatization program, repeal the regressive labor and farm reforms it recently pushed through Parliament, and provide emergency assistance to the most impoverished sections of the community by making a one-time 7,500 rupee payment to every non-tax-paying family, which is approximately $100 if it was converted to our currency, and by providing 10 kilograms in food grains per month to the neediest families. So let's get into the actual statistic, too, of the largest strike in world history. Around 250 million people across India joined the general strike, making it the largest strike in world history. If those who struck form a country, it would be the 5th largest country in the world after China, India, the United States, and Indonesia. Now, Pakistan is the 5th country, meaning that more people went on strike in India than there were people in Pakistan. Understand that. Understand quite how big of a protest that is. We have around 320 million people in the United States. This is well over a majority of those people going out and striking. And can you imagine what we could get done in the United States if we did this? It's not easy. It's not easy, but neither is suffering under capitalism and neoliberalism. But this goes on to say, industrial belts across India came to a halt. Roughly 2/3 of India's workforce derives its income from agriculture, which contributes to roughly 18% of India's gross domestic product. The 3 anti-farmer bills passed in September undermine the minimum support price buying schemes of the government put 85% of farmers who own less than 2 hectares of land at the mercy of bargaining with monopoly wholesalers, and will lead to the destruction of a system that has till now maintained agricultural production despite erratic prices for food produce. So what are their full demands? This is from industrialunion.org, and you'll notice I link a lot of sites that are leftist sites that you might go, that's not a trusted source. But the mainstream media is not talking that much about these strikes because they're the largest in history, and if people in the United States got, influenced by them, we would be striking at the same interests that the media holds dear to them. That's why you're not going to hear much about this, at least not in the right light, from any of the mainstream media sources that you might go to for news or that you might hear things from. But what are their full demands? The Joint Trade Union Charter of Demands reads: 1. The direct transfer of 7,500, I forget what their currency is called. I said it a little bit earlier, but rupees is what it was. 7,500 rupees, which is $101 if we converted it, to all families who earn less than the income tax threshold. 2. 10 kilograms free ration per person every month to all in need. 3. Expansion of the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act to provide employment from the current 100 days to 200 days work in rural areas with enhanced wages, and extension of this program to urban areas. 4. Withdrawal of all anti-worker labor code changes and anti-farmer laws. 5. Stop privatization of public sector corporations, including those in the finance sector, railways, and ordnance, manufacturing, ports, and similar areas. I accidentally skipped the sentence. Stop the corporatization of government-run manufacturing and service entities and railways, ordnance manufacturing, ports, and similar areas. And 6, withdraw the draconian circular of forced premature retirement of government and public sector employees. And 7, provide a pension to all, restore earlier pension scheme, and improve EPS 95. So that's the Joint Trade Union Charter of Demands. This is the demands from the people that are striking. And some of these things, are things that if translated to how things work in America, we should be pushing for, leftists, the working class, socialists, whatnot in America, that, it doesn't have to be one group of people. If everybody who's suffering from capitalism and neoliberalism comes together and fights it, we can do something. But so this next one is from this next part of the thing is from Jacobin magazine, a pretty leftist source, and the article is actually about the strike itself, and it's called "This is a Revolution, Sir." That's the name of the article. But I asked the question, "Leftist Revolution?" So this was what it sounds like. But basically, communist parties in India were on the forefront of many strikes, as you can read in the articles that I'll put in the links in the description. The following part just gives context on communists in India's elections, which undoubtedly connects to the strike. So even in the electoral realm, the communist parties are, at least in some places, showing a similar flexibility and political savvy. In the recent elections in the state of Bihar, probably butchered that, not just the mainstream communist parties, the CPM and the Communist Party of India, or CPI, but also the more radical CPI ML Liberation, a party with roots in the Maoist-inspired Naxalbari movement, probably butchered that, I'm sorry, which cut its teeth leading often violent struggles against extremely regressive systems of landlordship and exploitation. But those communist parties entered into an electoral coalition with other anti-BJP parties. So you can see that in India, communist parties actually have some sort of end to the system. And you even have a more radical element of that that's even got involved in the electoral process, because obviously this is a moment in Indian history, and a moment, for all people, I would imagine, everywhere, where striking against this, or I mean, for the damn train of thought, it's like 2 a.m. So, but basically what I'm saying is that the Communist Party actually has an in that system, and that's kind of helping them out there. And the communists have actually been down on the forefronts in a lot of these movements. And so in America, we're all like, ooh, big, scary communist. That's what you hear the Republicans call every person that they see that's protesting. It's either Antifa, BLM, or commie, or all three, and, pinko commie hippie. But you need to actually understand how things happen in other countries. You need to understand how their electoral politics works, what parties there are, and what other belief systems there are at play. And outside of the United States, not everybody's anti-communist, Cold War continuing, pro-capitalist like the United States is. And we need to recognize that if we want to move forward in this, move forward living, because capitalism is exploiting us all to death. Anyway, so let's talk about the global solidarity that comes with this and other strikes around the world. So hundreds of Sikh Americans have held peaceful protest rallies in several cities across the United States in support of Indian farmers who've been protesting against the new agricultural reforms in India. That's from this Sifi.com, might be a Sikh American website. Nonetheless, the next one is more than 1,000 cars convoy in Winnipeg for farmers in India, so that's in Canada. Also in Canada is hundreds of vehicles traveled in convoy from Surrey to downtown Vancouver on Wednesday to support farmers in India who are protesting government policy changes. Both of those were from MSN.com, Microsoft News. And then, but they're from Canadian news outlets even more. That's where they're sourced from. And then there's protests in London against farm laws in India. This one was hard to find. I actually had to come up upon possibly Indian British blog or whatnot, but it's plenty reported still. They've been protesting against these farm laws in London too. And then I'll get to the trade unions that have expressed solidarity with it in a second, but other strikes happening around the world right now. In Greece, a public sector general strike is taking place today. The ADEDY trade union called the job action due to outrage among workers over a lack of protection from COVID-19. Public transit workers in the capital, Athens, are also striking against plans of the country's right-wing government to abolish the 8-hour workday and place new restrictions on the right to strike. And then in South Korea, up to 200,000 workers struck yesterday against anti-worker legislation that would ban workers or ban strikers from occupying certain facilities and work sites, while 30,000 workers at Kia Motors mounted a partial strike to press for higher wages and oppose job cuts. And both of those are from that World Socialist website, that WSWS.org. And then, so this is all the trade unions that have expressed solidarity with Indians right now, including some constituents of the World Federation of Trade Unions. So the constituents of the AFTU, not sure what AFTU stands for, but nonetheless, from Greece, Sri Lanka, Denmark, Austria, Nepal, Morocco, Senegal, the United States, Pakistan, Russia, Libya, Lebanon, Peru, and Bangladesh have expressed their solidarity with the working people of India. The Trade Union of Revolutionary Workers of Land, Airway, and Railway Workers of Turkey said it will organize a solidarity action at Consulate General of India in Istanbul on the day of the massive November 26th strike, to be organized by Indian working class led by militant WFTW affiliate organizations. We will also hand in a letter to the consulate in which it's stated that we firmly side with the Indian working class and their just demands. And then the Confederation of Congress of Indonesia Unions Alliance also expressed solidarity and strong support for all workers in India. We strongly believe that the general strike will be a glorious moment in the history of the workers' movement in India and the world. We strongly believe that the braveness and militant movement of Indian workers against capitalism and neoliberalism will inspire workers all around the world. And that's that last part is from peoplesdemocracy.in, I imagine .india. So just to go over this again, why I, bring this up in this episode, why it felt so important to me right now, is because, like I've shown you in the COVID-19 stats, when it comes to how many people, are unemployed and how it's hitting poor and BIPOC communities harder, and how we've just had one of the largest transfers of wealth, upward transfers of wealth in human history, and there's all this austerity and exploitation and neoliberalism that's coming at us, this capitalistic, brutality of the working class, that it's crucial that we have a general strike soon. I don't see a way out of this other than that. I love direct ballot initiatives. I talk about that a lot. I think that that's a way to get change. But I don't think that you're going to be able to direct ballot initiative your way out of this. We need to pressure all of our elected officials to basically do the same things that they're demanding in India, but for here in the United States. We need a sort of working class strike revolution type thing, or else more people are going to suffer. More people are going to go homeless. More people are going to get evicted. More people are going to be, not fed enough. Or some people are going to starve. Some people are going to die. This is something that needs to happen soon. And while I might go over this and it sounds like, I don't know what I'm talking about, or like I just got into looking at all of this stuff, I have been watching some global protests against neoliberalism and capitalism play out for a while, and I do know many people that have been involved in this fight for a long time. And 2020 is one of those moments where if we don't have a strike, when will we? But nonetheless, I wrote this little, I guess it would be summary for the end. I wrote, the people of many nations around the world have been protesting neoliberal capitalist policies that benefit the rich at the expense of the working class. Yellow vest protests originating in France are a prime example of this. With the United States in its worst economic crisis since 2008, with COVID exacerbating the problems for working class Americans, and with a new neoliberal administration, the Biden administration, in the face of an economic collapse in early 2021, this is the time more than ever to join into the global working class solidarity, move left, organize general strikes here in the U.S., and try to get change ourselves. I support general strikes in all parts of the globe, and I stand in solidarity with the global working class and the people of India. I hope you are all ready for this here in the United States, because it is coming. One way to be on a CIA watch list is to organize the working class to strike against the ruling class. And with that, this is a much shorter video than most of them, just because I looked all this up and I was trying to briefly compile it, and it was one topic, but this is definitely a story that will continue and that I'll continue reporting on, and I'm probably going to end up reporting on strikes in other countries, possibly ours at some point. I hope ours at some point soon. I'm starting to think of myself more as a socialist as time goes on. Even though I'm unemployed, I do feel like my family is part of the working class. I take care of my family while my other family members, the older family members, work. And so they're in the working class. I feel like I'm in the working class. Definitely not in the upper class, not in the ruling class. So it's a topic that I'm very passionate about. I think that you should do right by your people. That's why I'm a leftist. I want the people to be uplifted instead of uplifting all the wealth to the richest 1%. And so, what it seems like with India's government is it's not just neoliberal. It seems that if they are not outright fascist, they're pretty fascistic, and that's what it even says in the beginning of one of them, is alongside its fascistic Hindu chauvinist and anti-immigrant policies when it's talking about Narendra Modi's regime. So, it's, and this is a regime that I've seen plenty of neoliberals fawn over before, including Obama, including Biden, including even people that we've thought before were progressive, like Tulsi Gabbard. So this is a exploitative government that I've seen many in the U.S. stand by before, and I won't. I stand by the people of India. There's over 1 billion people there, and hundreds of millions of them, what would be a majority, well over a majority of our country, if it was here, were on strike in India. That says something. The fact that there was just the world's largest strike says something. That should be news to everybody. That should be news that all the mainstream media organizations should be covering. We just had the largest strike in human history. And you know it's coming here in the United States. You know that soon enough our economy is going to meet its collapse. This capitalist system is not going to hold up forever, especially when it's been creaking for decades and people have been suffering for decades. So I really just hope that what my viewers take away from this might have been kind of a cringy, fuzzy episode where I might not have had my full, way of just going about it that was enthusiastic. But I am passionate about this, and I hope that what you take away from this episode is that strikes are needed. A general strike in the United States is needed, and that's what I support. And so I hope that we can organize that in the United States. I would implore you to look into general strikes, the history of that, look into socialism, look into leftism, move left, and always remember that when you do this, when you go against the ruling class, you're going to be on a CIA watch list, because the CIA and the ruling class go together like peas and carrots. Anyway, this is a much shorter video than the other ones. That might be better, that might be worse for some of you. But nonetheless, like, share, subscribe, give me feedback. I apologize for the problems in quality. Matter of fact, today I had to put this on a selfie stick and kind of rig it up to stand in the right position. I don't have my camera tripod that I had for the first 2 episodes right now, so I'm trying my best with what I've got. You notice I have to light this room up because I do my shows at nighttime. It's when it's the quietest. I have the least amount of distractions. And so I also get tired. I have a heater right here. If my face is all covered with sweat, it's because of that. And if you don't see like the video come out until midday the next day, that's because it's difficult to get these large videos from my phone, which I'm recording on, to my computer where I upload it. But thank you for watching the video, especially if you watched all the way through to this point. I know it probably wasn't easy, because there were a couple times where I blanked out or where I just was kind of slurring when I was reading, and we all start somewhere. We're not always on our best performance. I've went on about that too much. I've talked too much. There's not much else I have to say. Keep tuning in. This has been today's episode of I'm on a CIA watch list with Cameron Langley, and I'll see you next show.